Local programming on KRWG Public Media made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
This is KRWG Public Media, TV, radio, online. News that matters. Now, across the Mesilla Valley and the borderland, the stories that shape our community. From the KRWG Broadcast Center at New Mexico State University, this is Newsmakers.
Up front this week, there are many ways local folks are working to protect the environment. From citizen science, folks tracking scientific data and providing it to researchers, to more efficient transportation, to buying locally produced food. In depth, here's Michael Hernandez.
Thousands of community members celebrated the 9th Southern New Mexico Earth Day at the Plaza de las Cruces. There, booths representing dozens of local organizations and businesses invited residents to take part in ecological activities. That includes making seed bombs to plant wildflowers or getting up close and personal with insects. City organizers hosted a fashion show with clothes made from recycled materials.
Pair it with a skirt made from repurposed camping cot canvas, and you're ready to slay the runway.
As models strutted down the runway, dozens of environmentalists marched downtown as part of the International March for Science.
Science trumps Trump! Science trumps Trump!
The marches began in 2017 in response to the Trump administration's denials of climate change. Organizer Hiranya Roy Chowdhury, a professor at Doñana Community College, says it's up to grassroots movements like the March for Science to put pressure on fossil fuel investors and politicians to support renewable energy.
We have to get rid of the fossil fuel money from the political arena. So as long as there are politicians that are being bought by oil and gas companies, we cannot get away from the current energy utilization mode that we are in. So that is where politics comes in. Money has to be taken out of politics, so only then we can move ahead with a greener energy.
To help get there, Roy Chowdhury says ambitious approaches like the Green New Deal are needed. The legislation, which was rejected in Congress, set goals to reduce carbon emissions and create jobs. Public demand for alternative, fuel-efficient ways to get around has increased in recent years. Along with electric vehicles, ride-booking services like Uber and Lyft and electric scooters and bikes have helped fill that need. Barbara Toth and her husband own E-Bikes of Southern New Mexico. E-Bikes let the rider choose how much they want to pedal thanks to an electric assist.
Bicycles are so environmentally friendly, and we all know the great things of no fossil fuels and all of those great benefits, shopping and staying local. But then when you take an e-bike, an electric assist bicycle, you allow people who might not be able, for whatever, to use a regular bicycle. Those limitations are taken away with an e-bike. And so all of the benefits of a bicycle culture can be multiplied by helping to get people on electric assist.
While cleaner modes of transportation are part of the pollution solution, conservation also plays a key role in protecting the environment. Grecia Nunez is a public lands fellow with the New Mexico Wilderness Alliance. She says the designation of the Organ Mountains Desert Peaks National Monument, which turns 5 in May, has increased the site's popularity and economic value.
I think that one of the things that we see that has benefited our community is economically. It has grown our visitation by 100%. And so we not only have businesses like the Organ Mountain Outfitters that have come up out of our, of the creation of this monument. We have a lot of recreation happening here. We are a destination now, and so this is such a great asset, not only health-wise, because getting outdoors is a healthy lifestyle, but also for, economic growth of our community.
Speaking of the outdoors, educators from New Mexico State University's Arthropod Museum showcased the diversity of insects crawling the earth.
This is a local specimen, so this is a vinegaroon.
To increase the public's insect awareness, curator Helen Vessels is promoting the Monarch Larva Monitoring Project.
If you want to participate, anyone is welcome to do so. You can basically kind of monitor and actually update data online about where they're finding monarch larvae feeding naturally around the community. So anyone in the nation can do this and update this data, and you can actually look on the maps online and see where people are pointing these data points on the map. So you can actually find the distribution of these larvae and the monarch all throughout the United States. And it's all thanks to citizens and regular people helping out.
To raise awareness about citizen science projects and climate change, KRWG Public Media was also at the event, part of a long-term project that also includes reporting like this story. It's not citizen science, but advocates say buying locally produced food is a way anyone can help the environment. Chris Barty is board president of Mountain View Market Co-op.
The carbon footprint is reduced when you're not trucking your stuff thousands of miles away. You can also, the faster you can get the food from the grower to the eater, the less you have to deal with preservatives and things like that. So there's so many ways that sustainability come in when you're focusing on a local products. So this is, of course, Plaza de las Cruces is also right next to our farmers market. So to me, this event is all about what we need to have a better future.
The key, advocates say, is working for that better future every day. For KRWG Public Media, I'm Michael Hernandez.
Well, one of the biggest environmental issues for our region and the entire Southwest is our limited water supply. And it's complicated by the fact that we rely heavily on aquifers that are shared with Texas and Mexico. Mallory Falk visited a recent International Water Summit.
Gilbert Anaya is with the International Boundary and Water Commission, which oversees water treaties between the U.S. and Mexico. He says information sharing among water experts is sometimes happenstance.
A lot of times, the people that you meet actually have a piece of information that you need, and just by chance you run into them and great, you found somebody that has a piece of data that you need.
Anaya is leading a group discussion at a water summit in Las Cruces. Dozens of stakeholders are gathered here, policymakers, researchers, water utility leaders, to trade knowledge and come up with strategies for managing drought in the region. Anaya doesn't want to leave information sharing to chance, like two researchers bumping into each other at a conference. So right now, his group is discussing how the U.S. and Mexico can better collect and exchange information. They're focused on transboundary aquifers, that is, aquifers that cross international lines, providing groundwater to farmers, municipalities, and industries on both sides of the border.
Our goal has always been to collect information so that we can provide that to decision makers for better management of the aquifers.
So no one overdraws and depletes them.
Surface water is because you see the resource, you see the water. We have gauging stations, we have all sorts of monitoring versus groundwater. It's more invisible.
Water sharing is a delicate balance in this drought-prone desert region. Jane Harkins is commissioner of the U.S. section of the International Boundary and Water Commission.
Well, the water supplies along the border, whether it's the groundwater aquifers or the surface waters, it's vital to both the communities on both sides of the border because everybody needs water to drink and bathe in, and we need our water supply each day.
And that's not all. Most water in the region is used for agriculture, and it's also used to support other industries. There is a treaty in place dating back to 1906 that determines how to distribute surface water from the Rio Grande. Each country gets a set amount, which dips during shortages. But there's no treaty governing the aquifers. It's up to both countries to try to take only what they need and not overdraw.
It's a shared resource that we need to have all across the border and use it wisely.
That's part of why leaders like Gilbert Anaya are so passionate about collecting and sharing information. The more each country knows about the aquifer, the better they'll be able to plan and the less likely to overpump. But Jane Harkins also sees an aquifer treaty or treaties on the horizon.
This is probably the next generation, and it'll probably take a while for us to get that done. But clearly, a treaty surrounding groundwater is probably in the forefront sometime in the near future.
She's not exactly sure what it would look like. Aquifers aren't like a river, one single source of water.
I do think it's more site-specific. So I don't know if that's individual ones or if there's just a general broad treaty and then you work on each basin with the locals because that's where the information and data needs to be exchanged.
There are obstacles to collecting and exchanging information. The Trump administration is taking steps to divide the U.S. and Mexico, building more physical barriers between the two countries, which could disrupt water patterns. And New Mexico and Texas are in a long-running lawsuit over water. Gilbert Anaya says that's caused Mexico to sometimes step back and try not to get involved in a domestic squabble. But he says ultimately the future of both countries depends on properly managing the water and on building trust and relationships. For KRWG Public Media, I'm Mallory Falk.
So here at Lake Valley, New Mexico, we're actually at the third town site for Lake Valley. The first two were destroyed by floods. So Lake Valley got its start in about 1876 when they discovered silver ore in the area. And it depends on who's telling the story, whether it's two ranchers or two cowboys. It did pretty well for mining. What took it out because the US Mint wasn't buying silver anymore. And once they couldn't make money mining silver, there wasn't really a good reason to stick around. And then it became a ghost town. The last inhabitants of Lake Valley left in 1994. One of the more interesting stories about Lake Valley is its claim to fame. It's called the Bridal Chamber. It's a chamber that they found while mining for silver, and inside that chamber the silver ore was so pure that they were able to ship it directly from the mine to the US Mint. A portion of that was put on display at the World's Fair during that time, so it was kind of a big deal. And fully half of all silver mined here at Lake Valley came from the Bridal Chamber. Lake Valley, it kind of started as a money-making scheme like a lot of other Old West mining towns did. And one of the men that was involved in that was a British man, and he was actually put on trial in the UK for fraud. At his trial, when he was convicted and found guilty, he bit down on a cyanide pill and killed himself right there in the courtroom. So how's that for some drama? So there are various myths and legends attached to Lake Valley, just like any ghost town in the Old West. One of those people, her name is Sadie Orchard. She arrived here, I believe, a little bit after the mining boom had stopped. She ran her own stagecoach service that connected Lake Valley to Hillsborough and Kingston. And Kingston owned a hotel and brothel. So she was quite the businesswoman. She had quite the reputation as being a very feisty character. That's one of the more colorful characters that you can learn about here at Lake Valley. So for visitors who want to come and visit Lake Valley, if you're coming from Las Cruces on I-25, you can take the Hatch exit and take New Mexico Route 26 until you reach Nutt, and make a right onto New Mexico Route 27, and that'll get you to Lake Valley. The site here is open from Wednesday until Sunday. That's when the caretakers are here to open the gate if you're arriving by car. However, you can, because this is part of your public lands, you can visit anytime as long as you're on foot. The amenities that we have to offer are a picnic area. We have a brand new public vault toilet, very nice, adds to the convenience of visiting a Lake Valley. We also have various walking trails. We have a self-led tour, and you can see a really good example of what schoolhouses in southern New Mexico looked like in the early 1900s. So as far as handicap access goes, we are in the planning stages of putting in an ADA accessible ramp, and we are going to be putting in more wheelchair-friendly paths so that the whole site can be accessible to everyone. When people come to visit Lake Valley, they can expect to see old buildings dating anywhere from the late 1880s to around 1950 or so. A lot of the buildings have been here for a while, and as people lived here, they would add on to them and add on to them and add on to them. So you'll see different building styles over time. So it's really a nice record of what buildings looked like in a residential town in southern New Mexico in the late 1800s and early 1900s. I would say the best time to come visit Lake Valley is probably towards the fall. That way you avoid the high temperatures of summertime, and also you avoid the windy season. It does get very windy here at Lake Valley, and that's actually one of the main causes of destruction and degradation to our buildings, is just the sheer force of the wind. So if you want to come to Lake Valley and make the most of your time, I would say maybe come in around fall.
Cats Meow is a no-kill shelter. We take in cats that, unfortunately, sometimes people become ill, sometimes they lose their housing, sometimes they can't afford to keep the cat, and we try to accommodate them as best we can. Right now, everybody needs to know that we are completely full. So we do not need a rush of people wanting to surrender cats, please. Since we started in 2014, we've probably adopted out 130 cats, which for a small facility like ours is, I think, pretty good. We are solely cats to try to just help the cats in Las Cruces to have a place to live and a place to be adopted from. What we try to do is every cat has its own condo, and during the day all the cats are out running around, which is probably the biggest advantage. All the cats are given time out of the condos, probably about 8 hours, to be able to run around and interact with other cats. So we're able to actually watch the cats and pick up on their personalities and be able to try to match a potential owner with a cat that we think will be the best suitable match for them. Any cat being surrendered has to be fully up to date with its shots, and obviously it has to be healthy. And it would really like them to be friendly. That is a big part of this. We're located at 2211 North Mesquite. Our telephone number is 575-640-0011. And our hours are Wednesday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we just need people that like to be with cats, work with them, and not be afraid to have to do a little bit of work in terms of cleaning bowls, feeding, cleaning litter boxes.
My favorite part of working is interacting with the cats. Absolutely, they lift my spirits when I'm down. They are just incredible souls and very loving. We're implementing all kinds of things through the website and Facebook page on how people can help. TheCatsMeowLasCruces.com is a big part of it. We just started a newsletter. The most important people involved in Cats Meow are the volunteers. We could not do anything without the volunteers that we have. We can always use more volunteers, and the people who donate and help us out financially. It's a huge operation to finance, and the more donations we can get, the easier it gets to take care of the cats, with the vet bills, the food bills, everything. They all deserve a home, all of them.
From time to time, we bring you stories from our vast archive. This week, Dr. William Clark, Professor Emeritus in Music at New Mexico State University. Dr. Clark led the band department for years. He retired but continued to work as conductor for the Mesilla Valley Concert Band at NMSU. And in 2018, he was the recipient of the prestigious New Mexico Music Commission Platinum Award. This video essay from KRWG's Joe Whitmer.
My first teaching job was in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. And you've probably never heard of it, a very nice little town in the middle of Arkansas, 2 colleges there, and 2 big rivers run through it, and it's just a beautiful place to be. Taught the high school band for 11 years. Music was a part of the fabric of my life growing up. My family, none of them were professional musicians except for one aunt. And she was ended up being the music supervisor in the city of Little Rock. But she was a fine pianist, and she would come to our house, and many times, most times, Sundays after we went to church and ate Sunday dinner, as we called it in Arkansas, we sang, and she played the piano, and we just had a great time. So I grew up with music as just being a part of what you did. After I left Arkadelphia High School, I went to Southern Mississippi to get my PhD, and I finished that and took the band director of bands job at Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi. And from there I came here, so I really only had 3 jobs: Arkadelphia High School, Delta State University, and New Mexico State. I was at New Mexico State about 25 years. I was in several roles. I started as director of bands, and then I became department head and director of bands. Then I brought Ken Van Winkle and Greg Fant in for the bands, and I did just department head. Then I went back and did the band for a little while after that. So I was just there in the music department for about 25 years. The thing at New Mexico State that made me the most proud was the fact that we established or continued to grow a family relationship through music with so many children and so many youngsters. We've had over 200 music majors at one time, and the band, when Dr. Fant had the marching band, the band was over 300 for a couple of years, and so we really made an impact in southern New Mexico and West Texas. With the Mesilla Valley Concert Band, we play the highest level of wind music that is available to us. The group is made up of about 100, and over half of them are pro-level players. I mean, they're terrific players, and they can play most anything. But we only rehearse once a week, and so we do 5 concerts a year. We can't play some of the things that are major works that are very long because we don't have the time to rehearse them. They could play them given the time, though. It's a great band. To receive the Platinum Award from the Music Commission is something you never expect. I mean, I never even dreamed of it. I just knew about it. And I knew of other people that had gotten it, you know. But you never expect that. And when you get it, at first you're thinking, boy, won't people be proud of me? But then after you calm down just a little bit, you think, how fortunate and how blessed have you been to be able to be in a position to have this kind of effect on this many people.
Red chili, a staple of New Mexico agriculture, is not just for spicing up some chicken wings and enchiladas. It's also used to color lipstick and other makeup products, as well as various meats. Growing Discoveries explores this hot topic. Not only is red chili delicious, it's also considered to be very healthy with high levels of vitamin A and vitamin C. Director of NMSU's Chili Pepper Institute, Dr. Paul Bosland, tells us about the origins of chili.
Well, chili peppers originated in South America, probably around the Bolivia area. And then for many thousands of years, actually millions of years, birds dispersed chilies around South America and brought them to North America. And then when humans came to colonize the Western Hemisphere about 10,000 years ago, it was one of the very first crops that was domesticated by humans, and probably as a medicinal plant and then as a food plant.
Experts say the various types of chili today are a result of human selection. Chili peppers are native to the Western Hemisphere and didn't arrive in Asia, Africa, or Europe until after Columbus's first voyage. Dr. Stephanie Walker is NMSU's Extension Vegetable Specialist.
They're not completely sure how chili seed was introduced to the Rio Grande Valley into New Mexico. Some researchers think that Indian tribes traded the seed up and down the river corridor. Others feel that the Spaniards brought it up when they came up from the south. But chili has been grown here for hundreds of years in New Mexico.
Like green chili, red chili is typically planted in late February or early March. Unlike green chili, the red chili is harvested much later in the year, around November. It is also able to be harvested by machines. Once the red chili is harvested, it is sent to a processor where it is cleaned, sorted, and set out in crates to dehydrate. From there, it will either become a spice used for cooking, or its pigment will be extracted for food coloring.
That's our time for now. Join us this week on KRWG Radio every weekday. It's Morning Edition 5 to 9, Fresh Air at 11, followed by Here and Now noon to 2, and All Things Considered 4 to 7. KRWG News is always online at krwg.org, and we'd love to hear from you. Email us with your story ideas and video submissions. The address is feedback@nmsu.edu. For all of us at KRWG News, I'm Fred Martino. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on Newsmakers.